So Fernando's 1, 2, the Honda, the Element, and then next to it you have the Honda CR-V, which is ESY 3114. I'm pretty sure those are his relatives, perhaps her sister, and at least 1 or 2 kids, which would mean that there are 3, at least 6, possibly 7 people sleeping in the 1 bedroom below me, even if they're just visiting for the weekend. Last time I checked, a 3-year-old, I believe their child is 3, is considered a person, and 3 people in a 1-bedroom apartment is against regulations. Oh, but that's right. He's a Westchester County sergeant. That's okay with the prostitution and the drug dealing. You know, it's funny, when I tried to tell him about it last year, well, actually, what I meant to say was his previous tenant, Chris, I'd run into him when we were walking our dogs. Oh, by the way, that's a tenant who has a dog because the cop made sure he could have his dog. And I was put through months of hell as the tenant, not allowed to have a dog even though my mother was the owner. Anyway, that's years ago, but the point is this tenant, Chris, last year, I would run into him when we'd walk the dogs, and I would say, whoa, you know, the cops are here again for Glynis. And he would be like, I don't want to hear the shit that goes on in this building. You've got to stop paying attention to it. That's what he would say. He would yell at me. Oh, no. What I wanted to say was, 2 years ago, was it? I didn't have a car for 6 months. And it was like the fall, I want to say the fall of 2011 or 2012. And I think it was 2012. And he was leaving one morning, and I asked him, I said, can you just give me a ride to get a quick cup of coffee really fast? Because, you know, I was like completely disconnected. You'd think you'd work it out, but it was so hard. And anyway, he said, I'll give you a ride there, but I can't give you a ride back. And he works at the Verizon place right next door to the Black Cow is where I went. And I couldn't believe that he actually just left me to walk home. And, but when Glynis needed a ride to CVS a few times, oh my God, couldn't have been more helpful. Back and forth. I remember hearing her ring his bell at like 11 o'clock at night, and he went to bed early. No problem. Oh, and then when the deli robbers behind him, there's like at least 4 or 5, you know, I mean, they're just thugs. They're like, you know, street, toothless, crack-selling thugs. And they were, I guess, putting Q-tips in the toilet, or that's what the plumber said. The plumber is Joe Torres was here, who's like sits next to the mayor, right? Reliable Plumbing was here, and there was 2 inches of water downstairs. Went through the wall into Bruce's apartment, into at least their bathroom, he said. I don't know if it went all the way into his living room, but when he saw them, no problem, man. You know, stuff happens. It's okay. And when the plumber was here and sounded like they were going to break through the door or something, I called Chris to let him know, hey, something's going on in your apartment downstairs. You might want to, you know, give Ray a call or something. Like, that's the kind of neighbor I am. You'd think he would appreciate that. But I remember he started to pick a fight with me, like, well, they can't go in there. And I'm like, I'm just letting you know so that you know what's going on. And it's unbelievable how, like, just from the get-go, how Bellum's tenants are so incredibly disrespectful to me. When I would walk, like, if I take steps, I don't know if the recorder can pick that up, just if the dog walks, a 50-pound dog, if he walks, he would, Chris downstairs would bang on the walls so violently. And I tweeted at the time because I wanted to keep some kind of record of it, because I don't want to call the police. Oh, I don't, like, people around here love to call the police and make these little, like, neighbor wars. I tiptoed for at least 2 or 3 years that he was here. I tiptoed. And that took a toll on my ability to heal, too, because when you're, like, constantly, not to mention the stress, but to walk funny, to constantly walk in tiptoe and not just walk, free falling forward like you would walk normally, as your body muscles, gain strength from that. I lost some of that core strength a little bit because of trying so hard to be careful, living above this asshole for 3 years. I think he was here. And then when he finally moved out, I remember he was whispering to a baby sodomizer. And, it's funny. I told people, like, the fact that this woman would threaten me out of the blue for no reason other than, like, that's the atmosphere of the building. That's what made me look into her. That's what made me Google her name. That's what made me foil for the police report that claims she was charged with manslaughter for the death of a sodomized baby. A brutal beating death with gradual, cigarette burn stains and water stains and all these stories. I read 130 pages of the police report. So yeah, I can call her a baby sodomizer. Even though she may not have been the one to sodomize, she kept her mouth shut. And from what I gather, I didn't even foil the boyfriend because I don't want to know that much. All I know is for someone to go through an ordeal like that and only be fined $150? When you read the police report, this woman is not innocent. And the fact that she would, like a child, gang up on somebody years later just proves, like, what's really in her heart. No matter how it might look like things are better in her life, that's a really dark-hearted person to bully someone like that. You'd think an experience being accused of killing your baby and your baby dying at the hands of your boyfriend because you have his children. She had his children who were fine, but somebody else's son from a previous relationship dies a slow, brutal death. And I showed the newspaper article to a couple of my neighbors saying, look, can you believe that? And they act like, oh, I'm gossiping. So no, this is someone who hits me with her garbage when she goes down the stairs. Anyway, Chris, when he was leaving, packing up, he was whispering to the baby sodomizer, and I told him about her. But he was comfortable talking to a woman who was involved in the beating death of her child. But me? Couldn't stand the sight of me. And I'm supposed to pretend like I ever did anything. I gave that asshole an apple pie. I baked a pie to say, welcome, neighbor. I always wanted to do that to a new neighbor. And, I tried to tiptoe. I tried to be as accommodating as I humanly could. I'll never forget once I dropped something in the kitchen by mistake, and he texted me, you're doing it on purpose. You want to drive me crazy. I mean, the sickness. And it didn't occur to me at the time that Bruce is partly, if not entirely, the one behind all of this from the beginning. All I know is he would always give me time and talk to me, always with the goal of wanting to convince me to have sex with him. And he never came out and said that, but he would like hint around, and he would, like I remember once saying to him as I was getting in my car, his patio's right near my car, and I said, yeah, I'm like, the depression is really, really bad. I just want to go to sleep and not wake up. Something like just feeling really sad about stuff going on in life. And he goes, well, you got a nice rack. I'll never forget that. And then, of course, I've said this a million times lately, but when I heard the woman pimping out her child in 8A a few years ago, when I told him about it, he said, I live here, I don't shit here. And I thought like I put the word out there for people to watch out just in case something was going on. And then a year later, through the management, out of the blue, when I'm fighting with them about these parking fines, the daughter, Batai's daughter, I can't remember her name, she goes, I know what you tried to do to Mrs. Johnson in 8A. And I'm like, who the hell is that? I didn't even know her name. I didn't even know the apartment number. And you're concerned about a child, and all they can think is I made it up. And that was why I called the FBI, because I felt like I had even tried to contact the local police, but they were so, oh, you have to come down here in person. And I tried to explain to her I just have my reasons. I'm not comfortable going down to the police. I like never called the police for the first 10 years I lived here. And fucking Franco has the nerve to say on the stand at the traffic trial a couple weeks ago, Miss Hortini calls the police a lot. Like as if I want oh my God, as if I want anything to fucking do with them. I remember he once said, you specifically asked for me. And I was like, oh, you asshole, no, the opposite. And it actually, once I did, because it was a continuation of an occurrence that had happened, so I didn't have to tell the story again. But, I mean, what a fucking egomaniac. Oh, mildly educated people with massive egos. And the idea that the building department would be turned away by a janitor who's probably didn't even finish the 8th grade, who barely speaks English, telling them I'm crazy, that I've imagined smelling polyurethane fumes just because I asked to open the windows. Hola Blanca, loca. Because I asked to open the windows because I don't want to breathe gasoline for 18 hours. And these pieces of shit have a baby in their arms while they're laughing at me. That baby is breathing polyurethane. And they're going to have another baby. Guaranteed. He has money for plastic surgery for his face, but he can't afford a bedroom for his son. And I shouldn't say that because maybe he was in a fire, maybe he had an accident and he really had to get his nose fixed, but there's something about that little short piece of shit that tells me he's just a vain, cowardly, hypocritical, full of crap little nobody who says to me, oh, that's what I do. I'm a handyman. I do that. I can do carpentry. I can. It's like, oh, really? Really? Is that what you do? I never would have guessed. I thought you were a dentist or someone that actually came over here with a trade that would be meaningful and contribute to our society. Oh, you mean you just come here and fill the shit buckets up even more than they already are?